my name is Jobby, and today we're taking a look at the Digivolving Spirits number 5, Alphamon. And the guy contained in this beautiful looking box digivolves into that thing, but we'll get to that later. And for those of you who don't know, the Digivolving Spirits line is a brand new Digimon toy line by Bandai, and the line consists of transforming figures in the same style as those old early 2000s stuff, kibble and all. And if you want to know more about this line, you can go ahead and check out the links in the description because I have been reviewing all of them so far. And while you're down there, why don't you check out the link to my merch, please? I'm very hungry. So out of all the Digivolving figures that I've taken a look at so far, Alphamon here has the distinction of being the only Digimon that I know nothing about. All I do know about this guy from basic research on the Digimon wiki is that he's some kind of counterpart to Omnimon, who was known as Omegamon in Japan. Therefore, Alpha and Omega. Goddamn Americans ruining perfectly fine Japanese puns. So according to the DigiWiki, try saying that 5 times fast, Alphamon here is part of a subset of Digimon called the Holy Knights along with Omnimon. And that makes sense that they're affiliated with each other. Their head sculpts look very similar, but the black semi-gloss paint and the clean gold trim make him look less like a knight and more like a king. What I'm trying to say is, the painting of the sculpting on Alphamon is awesome. To a point. This is easily the weakest part of the figure. Not only is it an eyesore, but it even prevents the figure from standing up properly. Now, I don't read much Nihongo, but the instructions look as if they're encouraging you to use those tips at the cape as extra legs. Pathetic. But an abundance of kibble is expected of Digivolving Spirits figures at this point. Not expecting some horrific Digimon corpse on the back of a Digivolving figure is like going to a Thai titty bar and not expecting some dick. It's alright, you keyboard warriors, I'm legally allowed to make that joke. I'm Thai. But just because I acknowledge it doesn't mean I enjoy it. This so-called cape might be Satan himself, but at least Satan isn't floppy. Just like the rest of the figure, he holds together pretty well. He's got a nice heft, and I assume that's due to the die-cast metal parts, which are in fact outlined on the back of the box, but you can always use the coat touch technique to confirm it for yourself. And while we're at his beautifully sculpted fists, they are removable, and you can replace them with a pair of open hands. You also get a stand that's more relevant for the other mode, and that's pretty much it. The Digivolving Spirits line has a tendency to not include a lot of accessories, but for this guy, I would have really liked to have seen some alternate set of wings maybe, and that badass sword that he apparently owns. But what you get with these open hands, they do give you more options of display in theory. If you thought this heavy plastic cape would suck out any potential fun you could have with this guy, you'd be right. However, what Bandai doesn't tell you in these instructions, if you take this leg kibble and turn it on its side like that, it can actually act as support for the weight of the cape. And it actually works surprisingly well. Of course, that means the leg kibble becomes more obvious, but with that cape, who gives a shit? So with the weight of the cape being ungracefully counteracted, the figure actually becomes a lot more fun to pose. Ball joint at the head, ball joint at the base of the neck that allows for some chicken movement, ball joint at this poor excuse for a wing, and they've got a hinge joint here and a rotation at their base. Ball joint at the shoulder allows for a rotation, which allows for some backward and forward movement, also called a butterfly joint, don't you know? Ball joint at the shoulder pad, which allows it to move up, arm moves out, bicep swivel, bend at the elbow, ball joint at the wrist, every ball joint can be. This little flap is on a ball joint for some reason, no sort of waist articulation due to how the cape is designed, and at the cape you get a hinge joint. Rotation at the leg, can't move back that far, pretty good spread. Thigh swivel, bend at the knee, ball joint at the ankle, which allows for a very mild pivot, ball joint at that kibble, every ball joint can be, and finally, a toe bend. With the weight of this cape not being an issue anymore, you can push the articulation on this guy to its limits, which is not that much, but it's pretty good. And if we stand the figure up straight, you can see that he's a decent size. Here's Figma Madoka Kaname, SH Monsterage Godzilla, Masterpiece Optimus Prime, Digivolving Spirits War Greymon, Digivolving Spirits Dorumon, Digivolving Spirits Diaboromon, and the Digivolving Spirits Angelomon. Like the Angelomon figure before him, Alphamon is actually a really nice looking figure, except for that back kibble. But unlike Angelomon, the kibble on this guy is completely not removable. There is no escape from this hell. Give up. And of course, the lack of removable kibble is due to his involved transformation. The transformation is finicky, but not entirely painful, but I can't say it's satisfying. This cute, taro-colored fox dragon thing named Dorumon looks okay, just like Alphamon. I don't know anything about him. I believe he was on the cover of Digimon World 4, and why the hell do I remember that? They really should have stopped that one. And compared to that original Dorumon design, Bandai really squished them and chibified him for this figure, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Dorumon here might be an obvious patchwork of panels, but at least he's not obviously Alphamon until you look under his ass. Yeah, Kibble on Digivolving Spirits figures tie titty dicks, but I wouldn't have minded as much if the tail here actually snapped in properly. It sucks. It's just close enough to snapping in properly all the way in, but not quite. Needless to say, those promo images are false advertising. You will never get the tail looking as clean as that. This mess of a tail especially stands out when you consider that the rest of the figure actually holds together pretty solidly. But unlike that cape fix that I worked out for the Alphamon mode, there is no workaround for this. I know it's not the worst thing in the world, but I want to murder. And this previously mentioned stand is kinda useless. Obviously, it's supposed to help the Dorumon mode stand up, but he looks basically the same with it attached. It definitely doesn't help with his posability in any way. Nothing at the head, ball joint at the arm, allows for rotation, and also allows his arms to move out. Ball joint at his legs, hinge joint here, and a hinge joint at the foot. And you would think that would allow him to stand up like this, but no. Not even the stand can help him with that. Also, that's it. I know that limited posability is kind of expected for a Digivolving cute mode, but at least those other cute modes stayed together perfectly. I think I've got to stay put together. For the size comparisons, here's Madoka Godzilla Prime, Digivolving Spirits Agumon, Digivolving Spirits Gabumon, Digivolving Spirits Karamon, and the Digivolving Spirits Gatomon. I've gotta admit, Dorumon looks even better alongside all the other Digivolving Spirits figures, but this tail, this damn tail won't stop haunting me. Say what you want about Alphamon's ugly cape, but at least it stays put together like advertised, which is why I can still say, overall, this figure's good. The Alphamon mode is legitimately pretty great. It's just buried underneath some undeniably awful kibble. And that kibble is there in service of a mode that's admittedly pretty cute, but frustrating to handle and look at, and I don't ever want to see this thing ever again. Not the worst figure ever, but personally, I could have lived without it. But if any of you Digimon completionists wanted this figure still, I recommend you get it at the Big Bad Toy Store. Really? Okay. I guess Alphamon is just that great of a design. I mean, it would be so awesome if we got a separate Alphamon figure without the kibble, without the obligation to transform into something that it was clearly not designed to. Well, that was kind of a mess. Hopefully this dinosaur treats me better.